So that's up there on the announcements as well. So if you have not gotten a binder, I know a couple of you have talked to me about like, well, I prefer to do it this way. That's fine. If you have a method that works, that's fine. Otherwise, for these notes that I'm now printing and handing to you guys, a binder is the best option because sticking these in a notebook doesn't really work. So those notes that you're looking to get back out to see, you know, have I kept track of my notes? Do I still have those? The back of them, if I can get this to focus, maybe not. I think it's mad about my keyboard. There we go. The back of them tells us solving a two-step equation. All right, so I am trying this new strategy, and I know you guys have seen me use the timer a little bit, but I'm trying something that I guess I'm calling like 5 on, 5 off, and really I need to get a 3-minute timer because I think 3 minutes is the perfect amount of time. But I'm going to flip this, so, you know, it's started. I'm going to flip this and give you guys 5 minutes to try to make as much progress on the notes as possible. Then, because the first 3 problems should be warm-up, and actually one of those we already solved before. And you've probably seen some of these in your Khan Academy. Sorry, Miriam, what's that? Yeah. Well, it depends on which random problems you got assigned. So you may have seen these in Khan. And then I'm going to use our random cards to call on people to help me solve these, right? Like step by step. So our first 3 people that will be helping me with the first 3 problems will be Isis, not here, Andrew, and Charlie. So if you guys have any questions, you can chat with neighbors. You can stick up a hand and ask me to come help you. You can check out our notes from last time. But yeah, in 5 minutes, we will go over those first 3 problems together. So don't just stop at the first 3. If you get done with those, go ahead and move on to the distributive property part. The other announcements were just that Khan Academy is due the 23rd, which is today. So if you have any Khan Academy issues, please come see me at AO or Extensions. That was pretty much it. I'm totally fine if you use a calculator, but please write your work. Like whatever we do on both sides, if you remember those rules. You might start to try to jog your memory a tiny bit. You changed desks because Mr. Flynn is in here, didn't you? I get it, man. I don't like it when people are standing above me. I told him, I'm like, if you stand back there, Victor's going to be uncomfortable. I called it. About half of our time left, probably, guys. Oh, yeah. You can do as much of this paper as you want. Shoot, you could flip to the back if you really want to show off. Isis, I know we haven't quite hit the 5 minutes, but do you want to tell me what we would do first on solving for B? Yeah, we're going to put a -7 on both sides or a -7, right? We can call it whatever we want. Then I'm going to, really, I like to write this in red. This is harder for me to do up here, but I'm going to try to do some stuff with the board because I realize I don't use my smartboard very much, and I've already used like 5 sheets of paper. So this becomes -11b over here equal to Ooh, careful, 33. Because if we subtract 7 from the 40, we actually end up at 33. So check what you got there, guys. So now that we have a negative 11, remember this is multiply, even if we don't show the multiplication. So Isis, you want to tell us what we do last? By? Yeah, negative 11, right? So be careful that we make sure we take the sign with us. But if we divide by negative 11, what's our answer going to be? Our value of b is a positive divided by a negative. So be careful with that. What's our sign, first off? Negative, right? Because we have one negative sign. And then 33 divided by 11, that's a fun one. 33 is a multiple of 11. Right? 33 is a multiple of 11. Anyways, please let me know if you're having any issues seeing. I can shut blinds or whatever we need to do. Drew, you are next. Any questions on this first one? We're getting B. Drew, you ready to solve G? All right, man. What do we do first in solving for G? Excuse me. We add 5 to both sides, that inverse operation, right? There is subtraction. And now, could I, careful, this is like a tricky question. You're going to have to sit right in front of Mr. Flynn, or you can change desks. Victor stole your desk today, Lulu. I'm sorry. We could, I'm going to go ahead and not ask the trick question because I feel like that's not fair. We could multiply first. We don't want to, though. It's real messy if we do. So exactly what Drew said, we're going to add first. I want to change to red, though. We're going to add 5 and add 5. Remember that we said if we want to keep it clean for left side, right side, draw a line down your equals to make sure you're doing left side, right side. So then, this is going to be 3 plus 5. Don't forget to do the addition. We get 8. G over negative 4. What do I do now, Drew? Absolutely. I'll make sure I do it on both sides. Keep things fair. Keep things balanced. What's our value for G? Anyone? Negative what? Negative 4 times 8. Oh, you did division. Careful, this is multiplication. We get negative 32. Any questions on solving for G? And H. That was Charlie. Charlie, what do we want to do first here? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Pass. So think about what has been done. Let me ask you a different question then. What's being done to H? The first thing we see, if we just ignore everything else, what's this? Yeah, it's being divided by 6. And then if we ignore the division by 6 and look at this, what else is happening? How would we read that? Ignore the 6. Yes, subtracted by 1. So we need to undo both of those things. If we think back to our notes from last week, or if we go back and look at our notes from last week, on the back we said, first, we're going to undo the constant. Right? The constant is anything that's added or subtracted. Then the coefficient. So make sure that you go back to those notes if you need to. First thing we're going to do is add 1. I'm going to draw my line. So to undo the subtraction, we do the opposite, right? We add 1. And then we'll go class answer on this one. What's negative 3 plus 1? Negative 2. You got to be careful. There's a trap door there. We got to come up closer to 0. My number line's covered up right now, but if you guys haven't read this yet, it's pretty funny. It's an exchange between a friend of mine. She needed math help. And then, anybody, what do I do now to get h by itself? Yeah, times 6, right? Multiply by 6, however you want to say that. These are going to wipe each other out. We get h is equal to negative, right? Because I only have one negative, negative 12. Any questions from the top section? So now, I can't guarantee I'm going to give you the whole 5 minutes, but try the next section with the distributive property. If you cannot remember what we're doing from really the last time that I was here in class, I'm going to remind you of what we did. So I'm going to take away these notes by showing you that first problem with the negative 30 there. We did that already. Right, so last week when we talked, or 2 weeks ago, we said when there's distribution, we can actually not do the distribution. We can undo it. Right, so I'll get that shiny page protector out of here. So we could distribute and then solve it that way. Oh, thank you. I owe you a piece of candy whenever I get candy back here. I appreciate you catching me on that. So instead of doing the distribution, we undid it. I'll make sure that my friends in the back can see. By dividing each side. And because that turns into a giant 1, it made life a little bit easier. So if you want to copy this down for the first one there in the distributive property part, you can. But then I want you to try the next 2 on your own. With the negative 4 and that 3. The other 2. So flip this. I'll give you most of the sand timer. I'll give you at least 3 minutes. So you're doing an inverse operation to wipe that out. So then, yes, you're doing that. These wipe each other out. Then you are going to do that. Yes. And of course, my argument is it's all addition. So yeah, you're adding, but really we're going down. Right? We're getting more negative. So the only other issue with me working at the board is that then my writing's not in the video. So I may solve these on the paper. All right, our next volunteers, based off random selection cards, will be Madeline, Amelia, and Miriam. You've still got like a minute, don't worry. You guys can chat with each other. I know we're still getting used to that, and I know it's kind of hard with masks, but if you have any questions, you can chat with each other. And if you want to move on to the decimals and fractions section, you are welcome to do it. I'm trying to give you guys more time to try stuff on your own, to trip up and like let me catch you and let me help you here before you're doing your practice and I'm not with you. All right, Madeline, I guess we can go ahead and let you start if you want. Do you want to tell me what you did first here? All right, let's talk about what's confusing you. So we can, and this is the problem with math, right? We have a ton of options. So where this gets confusing, guys, is you've got a bunch of choices, and you have to decide what to do. You can always, I want to pop back over to this question because I'm going to solve it differently really quickly. You can always do the distribution. You don't have to take any of those shortcuts that we talk about. Sorry, I don't know why this won't like really come back to focus. Let's try the old Sharpie trick. I don't know where my quarter went to. That worked pretty well when we did that. All right, there we go. So we can always, if we want to, draw the arrows, do the math. We would do 5 times x gets me 5x. 5 times 1 gets 5. This is what we were doing like a month ago, right, when we were learning how to do the distributive property. What I'm now showing you is other techniques. I'm adding extra tools to your toolbox. So where you've been using a screwdriver, I'm now kind of handing you a drill. You don't have to use the drill, but I'm going to add tools to your toolbox because it might make things easier for you when you get to bigger and bigger projects. So now that we've done the distribution, we start trying to solve for x by undoing what has been done, right? We have to start with the addition or subtraction. I'm flipping colors now. I'm doing what I'm doing on each side in green. So these make a giant 1. Right, our best friend from CPM that I lied to you and said I was going to stop saying, but it makes sense. Or sorry, these, not a giant 1. Was anyone going to catch me on that? What do these do? A positive 5 and a negative 5? Yeah, they cancel, right? They're 0. So that's 0. The 5x drops down. And we have negative 35. And then what would I do to undo multiplication by 5? What's the opposite of multiplication? Yeah, division. So we would divide both of these, left side, right side. And guys, it gets the exact same answer. So if the shortcut method is at all confusing to you, you don't have to take it. So comparing that solution to this solution, we get the same answer. Because mathematically, it doesn't matter how you get to the answer, well, as long as you don't break any rules. If you get the right answer, you get the right answer. So, if you want to take the shortcut, though, Madeline, instead of doing the multiplication, how do you undo multiplication? What's the opposite? Division. The number you want to get rid of is that negative 4 in front, so that's what we divide by. This made a giant 1 because division makes our giant 1. So one set of w plus 1 is just w plus 1. If this is one set. Equal to, I have to do this math. Guys, seriously, me, like high school, me, always forgot to do this. I'd like be working too quickly. So negative divided by negative. Yeah, positive. And then 24 divided by 4 is 6, I think. What do I do to undo a plus 1, Madeline? Yeah, subtract, absolutely. Now, if you don't want to go that method, do the distribution and solve it the other way. Both ways work totally fine. In this last one here, solve it however you want. Watch me if you want to. Miriam, I'll come back to you on a different problem. Solve it however you want. I'm going to write out my solution, and we're just going to check our answer, because I can tell some of us are a bit rocky on this right now. If you want to do the distribution, like draw the arrows and do the distribution, do it. If you want to divide first, do that. I'm going to do both ways. If you did the distribution, check your work and your solution. Oh yeah, can we get in the habit of putting our final answers in a box or a circle or something? So right down here where I get my final answer, that should go in a box or a circle or something. Essentially, this is saying I'm done. There's no more work to do. If you want to go the other route, I will show that. Any questions on the distribution route? When we did the multiplication, we got 3n and we got a negative 15. Right? I could write this as minus 15, but you guys know I don't like subtraction. So that's a 3 and a negative 5, right? Or it's minus 5, quote unquote, but I don't believe in subtraction. Zooming way in because I can see people in the back trying to see. So when I multiply my positive 3 with my negative 5, that's how I get my negative 15. I could have written it as minus, but I don't like that because subtraction is a lie. I do the inverse operation. Add 15 to both sides. I got to do the math on the left-hand side. I'm going to pull this out a tiny bit. And then to undo the multiplication that doesn't have to be shown, right? 3n means 3 times n. We know that. To undo that, we divide and get 13. Take a moment and check if all that makes sense. And guys, again, this is not right versus wrong. It's options. Now, if if a friend of mine is trying to take a screw out of a piece of wood and they go grab my nice chisel, it might do the job, but I'm going to be mad that they used the wrong tool, right? So I'm just giving you tools. You will have to decide what you think the right tool is, and I'm never going to be upset at you because you're not actually using my tools. But I will tell you, hey, you worked way too hard at that. If you do a practice 12 times, you should have come and worked with me. We all learned how to email earlier in the year and take screenshots. Guys, as I look at your con work, some of you are doing practice assignments way too many times. You got to reach out for help. Or use the help tools available to you there. Trying the same thing over and over and over again, but never actually taking a moment to learn what you're messing up. It's actually described as insanity, right? Trying the same thing and expecting different results is kind of described as insanity. Some of you guys got to reach out to me for help. The other way we could solve this, notice how it's a lot less writing. This is why I think this is a nicer tool. Is over here, I got to do all that over here. It's less of a process, and I still get to the same answer, n equals 13. Any questions on that section? Go once. All right, decimals and fractions, we're actually going to skip for the time being. We'll come back to here if we have time at the end of class. I should have really put that in a different spot. We're going to jump down to decimals and fractions and distribution. Oh my. So, you know how I said I'm just giving you different tools? One of the things about determining what tool to use is you got to look at the job, right? You got to say, what am I trying to do, and determine what tool is best from there. You know how I don't like subtraction? I don't like fractions either, and I think I've told you that. So I want you guys to take a moment and look at these three problems down here. I'm going to flip the timer, but I'm not going to give you 5 minutes. I'm probably going to give you about half of the timer. Do you think I should start by doing division on both sides, like what we were doing up here? Or do you think that if we do the distribution down here, that it might make some things easier? So take a moment, look at those. Go ahead and start writing stuff if you want to. Test things out. As Professor Smith would always say, just test stuff out. If you write it one way and decide you don't like it, you can always go back and do it a different way. So guys, if I start by dividing, I go from having one fraction to having two fractions. Because when I divide by 4 on both sides of my problem here, I had 3 by itself, and crud. I don't like fractions, and I just made another one. Like, okay, they have common denominators, so they're not terrible. But what if the next problem doesn't have common denominators? Right? So this option doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't look great. I'm going to try the option where we distribute. So I'm going to write this out again. Which, I mean, I could do it on my paper, I guess, here. So draw the arrows. If you have not written anything on your paper yet, please do this with me. And even if you have, please do this with me. 4 times t would be? Yeah, thank you. 4 times a quarter. 1. Yeah, because 4 quarters is 1. Ooh, I like this. Whole number, whole number, whole number. So guys, this is where you gotta assess the job. All because I teach you a shortcut on one problem doesn't make it a shortcut on every problem. Right? So this is where I really want you to take a moment before you just like repeat what we did in class and like check what is the work that you're doing. I was helping a couple people out and they were kind of saying, well, I thought we always have to divide. Like, what? There's no always. I'm not giving you any blanket, like you have to, like, it's up to you to decide. Because algebra kind of lets you do whatever you want. All right, so now, Miriam, let's pop back to you since I kind of took away your turn earlier. What would I do here first? Yeah, absolutely. We get rid of the 1 by subtracting it out. Well, that's 0, so 4t is equal to 3 minus 1 is 2, and I'm out of page. But now what do we do, Miriam? By Yeah, we divide. Divide by 4, divide by 4. T is either 2 over 4 or 1/2. I'm going to write it off to the side here. I want you to do the exact same thing on the next two. Do the distribution, right? So draw the arrows. Do the math. Now the really, really nice thing is when the number that we're multiplying with matches the denominator, it becomes the numerator, right? So again, well, now we have a negative to be careful about, but since I'm multiplying by the same thing that I'm dividing by, guys, if you have a highlighter, you could highlight that we have the same number that we're multiplying by as we're dividing by. You might pop over to the third one. This one might arguably be easier, the one with the 3s. Let's actually do this one next. This one's probably slightly easier. Try both of those. Guys, I want you trying on your own, even if it's a tiny bit scary. What's going to happen if you get it wrong? Nothing. I don't care if your notes are right or wrong. I don't care at all. It's when you come to practicing that we care if you're doing it correctly. But right now, I don't care if you mess up. Victor, what am I going to get with my 3Q? I end up with 3Q and... yeah, and 4 equal to my 2. What do we do now on both sides, dude? Sorry, can you speak up a tiny bit? It's not 2 that we subtract. You want to give that another shot? You fell in the trap door of subtracting this number when you want to go to the side with the variable and subtract that number. So what do we actually want to subtract? That's multiplied. So that's actually going to get divided. We subtract the 4 because it has been added to the Q. So you might want to come in here and highlight or notate that we're going to subtract because of the addition. So we're going to subtract because of the addition. That gets us 3Q equals negative 2. Do you know what we do now to get rid of the multiplication by 3? Yeah, we divide on both sides. So divide by 3, divide by 3. Yeah, Q is that fraction, like negative 2/3. Anyone want to volunteer to walk me through this next one? Mary? Yeah, she was just faster than you. Yeah, hey guys, what might be really helpful, because you said something a tiny bit wrong there, is up here, write out what we get when we do negative 5 times 3 over 5. So we get negative 15, right, because negative 5 times 3 over 5. What is negative 15 over 5? Negative 3, right? You said plus 3, so be careful. Check your work. Make sure that we had a negative 3 here. All right, so then keep rolling. Yeah, be careful using the word factor because that actually means to divide. So I agree that we're going to process this out by saying, okay, how do we get rid of a negative 3? Add 3, right? We do the opposite. Negative 3, the opposite is a positive 3. Yeah, this is multiplication, guys. So we divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. P is 1/5, right? Because a negative divided by a negative, P is 1/5. Flip to the back. Check Tyler, Taylor, and Bryce's work for mistakes. I will tell you 2 of them have made mistakes. So guys, as I look through these, because somebody yesterday was like, well, these suck because I don't, checking for mistakes. I don't even know when I make a mistake. And I get it. But guys, the only way to check somebody else for mistakes is say, well, what should they have done? Right? So Tyler, when he sees a number up against parentheses, he could have divided or he could multiply, and it looks like he multiplied. So draw these arrows. Did Tyler do 3 times x accurately? I think so, yeah, I got 3x. Did he do 3 times 4 accurately? Yeah, he got 12. Did he drop negative 18 down? Yeah, okay, negative 18 dropped down. Skylar, you want to hop in and help me by telling me what we would do next right here? From step 1 to get to step 2. Yeah, subtract 12. So guys, write it in on your paper. Did he do it correctly? Does negative 18 minus 12 get us negative 30? Yeah. And does it wipe out on the left-hand side? Yeah. So actually, I should have been putting check marks along here. That was correct. This looks correct. What would he, absent. Lucian, do you want to tell me what we would do to get rid of a 3 times the x? How do we get rid of that 3? What's the opposite of multiplication? Division, right? So here under here where it says 3 times x, we have to do the inverse operation and we have to divide. Did he do that correctly? Yeah, I think Tyler's good. So figure out where Taylor made his mistake and figure out where Bryce made his mistake. Anyone want to volunteer to tell us where Taylor or Bryce made their mistake? Ooh, Drew, way from the back. Sorry, Madeline, you just went recently. Tell me what number's wrong. Yeah, this number, guys, if you want to circle that, that's not right. He should have done 7 times x, or 7 times y, and he did that, but then he should have done 7 times 4.5. That should actually be 31.5. So right here at step 1, Taylor's wrong. And then every step after it's wrong, because if step 1 is wrong, then nothing else can be right after it. Did Bryce distribute correctly? 3 times c, 3c. That 5. What should this have been? Just 5, right? That should have been just 5. All right, the last section that we're probably going to have time to get to today is where we're really going to use those 3 highlighters. We're going to do one together, and then I'm going to hopefully have time to let you try one on your own. Jenny is a really nice person. She gets some money, and because, why would she keep money? She decides to buy sports drinks for her whole team. So she buys 22 Chameleonades. It's not Gatorade, right? Chameleonades. So they are on sale today, part of the reason why she bought them, for 35 cents off. You should be highlighting what I'm highlighting. And the total that she spent was $18.70. What these types of problems are asking us is, what will the variable represent? What you need to look at is, okay, this 0.35, what is that? Well, when I look back up in the problem, it's 35 cents, right? It's money. So since that's money being subtracted, can I subtract money away from people? Well, yeah, but then I'm a thief, so I probably shouldn't do that. Like, the X here, when we think about what is it, it needs to be a like term, right? Like a same label. So can anyone tell me what you think X is? Yeah, the normal price of the drink. It's the normal price. So look at the next problem. See if you can tell me what the X represents there. I'm going to come around with wipes because we're short on time. We have to check a box that says he watched me teach. He wasn't in here because of you guys. We love you, but he wasn't in here because of any of you. He was in here because of me. Now, if I was a really poo-poo teacher and all we did was sit around and make up names for doggies or something, I might be in trouble. But I think I'm okay. Anyone want to take a risk and tell me what you think the X is over here? I'm going to take a highlighter to this problem until Jocelyn, what are you thinking? Can you give me one more word? I agree with you, but yeah, normally. X would be how many members should be there. So that's the entire band, right? If everyone showed up. But because we were missing 2 members, that's why we had the -2. Right? So because we knew that we took 2 members away, the X must have been members. So it's normal numbers. If you borrowed my highlighters or rulers or anything, please wipe them down and stick them back up front. Excuse me, calculators, if you don't want to really right now they should be wiped down, but also if you put them on the counter over there, they'll get sprayed off at the end of the day. So I also move calculators over there at the end of the day. All right, thank you guys very much. Please come work with me at Extensions if you are struggling on stuff. It's due today. That does not mean wait until after today to care about it. Come see me at Extensions. Please, please, please. I get lonely, guys. Yeah, that is the thing. We don't have a